I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast.
Today's pep talk, I'd like to talk about birth order and how your birth order affects your personality development. And so think for a moment, what were you in your family growing up? Were you an oldest, a middle, a youngest, an only? Or was it some kind of a blended situation, which can often mix up the dynamics and change kind of the typical ways that we become the types of people that we become related to our birth order? Also, if there's more than 4 years age difference between the one above you or the one below you, it's like starting over again. So for example, if your sibling above you is more than 4 years older than you, you may have some firstborn or oldest child characteristics. So what happens with the firstborn is they often develop we call it a motto. And so the oldest child definitely has the motto of, I was the first and I'll stay. And oldest children tend to be very responsible. They tend to, unless, again, sometimes there's other situations that can affect that, and sometimes they can rebel, but they tend to relate closely to the adults. They tend to be responsible. They tend to be great leaders. So one of the things that we want to do for our own kids when they're the oldest is maybe not put so much pressure on them to set the example and to have to always take care of their younger siblings, because they often develop a lot of resentment as a result of that. The second child tends to always try to live up to the first child, so they can have a really hard time in their world because they're often never feeling that they can measure up. So a second-born child needs to be celebrated for their own unique abilities and to not have to live up to the firstborn child. The middle children often develop an attitude of life isn't fair. They also tend to become very invisible in families, and they, related to that, tend to become good mediators because they can see the oldest children and what they're experiencing, and they can see the younger siblings and what they're experiencing, and they learn to work in the middle, and so they become great mediators. And one of the things that you want to do for middle children is make sure that they're celebrated and seen and heard, because often they get lost in a family dynamic. The youngest children often tend to be very pampered, and they're often parents know that this is the last child they're having, and so they often overindulge them. So youngest children tend to develop the motto of, I'm entitled. And one of the things that you want to do for youngest children is to give them leadership positions, is to give them ways to be responsible, because often that pampering leads them to feel less capable when they become adults. And only children often relate very young to their parents and to other adults. They tend to be more verbal sooner. They tend to be extremely bright and intelligent. I mean, all kids are, but they'll acquire that more quickly and readily because they are relating to adults. And they develop the motto of, I'm special, because they have a special place and they know it. And so one of the things for only children is that you want to make sure that you have them around kids their own age. So doing sleepovers, getting them in school actually younger is more appropriate for only children, since they're not having as much social time as the kids who have other siblings to relate to when they're little. So birth order is a very strong effector of our personality and how we develop, and our beliefs, and how our personalities are shaped and formed. So it's good to understand what the possibilities are and to do things to enhance kind of the positive effects of being whatever your child's birth order is, and mitigate some of the challenges to being in that birth order. So I hope this is enlightening for today, and have a great day and happy parenting.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Debbie Godfrey, owner and founder of positiveparenting.com. I hope you'll go and check out my website and follow me on Instagram and let me know about what you thought about today's episode. Did you learn something new? Were you able to do something different with your children? Did you have a success story? Those are my favorite to share. Let me know. Contact me. I'd love to hear from you. And also, what future topics would you be interested in hearing about on the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast? Thank you so much for being here and for all of your support. Take care and happy parenting.